Hey everybody, welcome back to Keeping It Real with Marilyn and Steve. Today we are in the middle of a blizzard. So it's the end of January 2022, and here on the East Coast, we're in southeastern Connecticut, we are in the middle of what is supposed to be a very bad snowstorm. So what better to do than, since we have our wood cook stove going, than make some vegetable broth so that we can make some soup using our steam juicer. So if you want to hang out, watch me make this. I'll explain our normal process, how we use vegetable scraps, and get this going. So you may hear my birds in the background, and if you do, they're a constant companion. Whenever they hear us talking, they have to chime in. But what I want to do, before I put anything into the steam juicer, this is a Giant-X 11-quart steam juicer, and I'm going to take it apart so you can see how it works. So first we have our clear cover, and it's got a little hole in it right here to allow extra steam to escape. The top of it has the holes in it. This is where you actually put whatever it is that you're going to be steaming. Today we're going to be putting our vegetable scraps in there. The middle part, which has the hose off of it, it comes with a clip. It doesn't come with this little wooden piece. My husband cut that for me so that when it's actually steaming and the juice is coming out, it holds the clip open for me. But this has an actual little funnel piece in the middle that comes up in the center to allow the steam. When the steam comes up, you have the center part here, and when the steam is coming up, your juices are coming through the holes here, but not going back down into the bottom where your water is, which is awesome. Now this is the bottom piece. This is where the water goes. I've got a couple marbles that we put in here, and it's got the little hole where the hose from the centerpiece goes. Now it doesn't come with the marbles either. That was a little tip we got off Prepper Potpourri's channel. Check her out. She's got some awesome videos. And it helps you to know when your water is getting low, because you don't want this to boil dry while it's steaming your vegetables, fruit, whatever you have in it. So I've put about a gallon of water in this bottom part of the steam juicer, and that's enough so that it's not going to boil over, but yet enough still so that as it is boiling, it's going to steam for a while before I have to add more water. Now I do have the marbles in here to let us know if the water is running dry, and also I will make sure that I leave a link to this in the description in case anybody's interested in checking it out. So if you've been following along with us, you know that we are doing a 90-day pantry challenge. Well, we just are hitting the end of our first 30 days of that challenge, and we went through our freezer this week and we're cleaning up, figuring out what we had, what we needed to use up, and I saw our bags of veggie broth scraps. Now we get these scraps from every time that we are cooking and we're using onions or peppers or carrots, that kind of thing. Instead of taking the ends or the skins or the peels and just throwing them in the garbage, we put them in a bag, throw them in the freezer until we have enough to make some vegetable broth, and then we can use that vegetable broth to make soup. So we found our bags that we had that in. We also have some whole peppers that we weren't going to use for anything else that we decided that we'd throw in as well. So let me get these dumped into our steam juicer so that we can get this going. One thing I love about using the steam juicer is you don't have to dice things up. You don't have to worry about cutting out stems. You don't have to strain it with cheesecloth. It all just strains right out this way. Okay, I've got one bag in, the second bag in. As you can see, there's skins and pieces of veggies, and that's as easy as it is. Okay, so we're going to put the cover onto the steam juicer and let this sit. Once it comes to a boil and starts steaming, the liquid is going to come out the hose on the side. Now, until it gets to that boiling point, we've got the clamp shut on the end of the hose, and I've got the hose sitting into a 1-quart jar on top of this stool. This is something you have to be super careful about because this is going to be boiling liquid that comes out. But we'll be back when this starts boiling and is ready to start juicing. So it's been a little over an hour and I can see that the tube is full, so I'm going to drain off what's in there and then let it go for a little bit longer. So I'm going to try to do this so you can see. You got to be really careful. I'm wearing gloves because this is very hot. And it's just draining off. So there's still quite a bit. As you can see, the tube is filling right back up. So what I'm going to try to do is take off one of these gloves. I'm going to work very careful, and I'm going to try to get this wooden block in here so that the drain can stay open. There. Just like that. And now, as it steams, the juice can fall into the jar. Now again, you only want to have it set up like this if you know you don't have any little kids around, nobody's going to be bumping it or hitting it, because this is boiling, boiling hot. So now we're going to let this drain. I'm going to leave the wooden peg in so it can drain out. We're going to keep a close eye on this. When it starts getting full up on the jar, we're going to replace the jar with another one. To do that, I'll take the wooden peg back out so it closes off the hose, and then we'll get the new jar in place and then put the peg back in. Now we only make vegetarian broth because we're vegetarians, but if you're interested in learning more about making a bone broth, like a beef bone broth, I would definitely recommend the channel Mary's Nest. She's got a lot of absolutely great information, and I'll make sure to leave a link to her channel in our description. Hey everybody, best laid plans always go awry. So the day we started this was in the middle of a blizzard, and it was kind of a busy day that day. It does take an entire day of steaming the scraps that we did to get the juice that we have. Now we had 1.5 gallons of frozen vegetable scraps, and we got a little over 1 gallon of vegetable stock. So that being said, this didn't finish until late the night of the storm. We'll throw a little clip in here somewhere to kind of show you what we had going on outside. And by the time it was done, it was really late. We just did everything up, put it in the fridge, and said we'll get back to it in the morning. So next morning we woke up to over 2 feet of snow and ended up spending the entire day shoveling. Now we have a very long drive. It's about 750 feet from the road back, and then we have a 5-car parking lot that is used for our business. So it was a lot of snow clearing, plus walkways and steps, and yesterday, to be honest, I was too sore and too tired to get back in front of the camera to do any more videoing. So today, here we are, day 3, everything's back out of the fridge. We've got our little over 1 gallon of broth, and we have our scraps. So now it's time to move on to the next step. So what we're left with now is the scrap. Now, a lot of people might throw this away or maybe put it into their compost or feed it to their livestock, but what we're going to do is we're going to scoop the scraps into our food processor, and then we're going to puree it down in the start of making some bouillon. So in here, again, we have onions, we have peppers, we have mushrooms, we have bits of carrot, all the things that normally a lot of people would just throw right into the garbage or maybe into a compost. This can get a little messy. And another note that I hadn't mentioned, if I were going to can that broth, I definitely would be pressure canning it. And with the soup that we're going to make, if I decide to can any of the soup after it's made, that will be getting pressure canned as well. Let me get all this into the food processor and I'll be right back. So we've got all the scraps into the food processor, and now what we're going to do is puree those down. I did keep some of that extra broth that I had over the 4 quarts that we had jarred up, just in case I need to add some to get this to puree down to the consistency that I want. Now, I'm not going to have you listen to all the noise while I get this pureed down, but I'll be back in just a few minutes when it's to the right consistency. So we're going to get this spread out on the tray so that we can get it into the freeze dryer. So as you can see, I didn't put a silicone mat down. I want to just spread this right into the bottom of the tray. Now you can use parchment paper. You could put it on a silicone mat if you wanted to, but I've done other things similar to this and they're fine right on the tray. So let me get this all spread out on the tray and I'll be right back. So we filled 3 trays with what we had pureed up. And now it's time to get these into the freeze dryer. So we have a 5-tray freeze dryer, so I have my 3 trays with the bouillon on it, and then we've got 2 trays of potatoes that we're making freeze-dried potato chips. So we'll get this in the freeze dryer, and it's going to take about 24 hours. I'll be back with you tomorrow. So we had the trays in the freeze dryer overnight. They're now all done, and we're going to put them into the food processor to grind them up into a powder to use as vegetable bouillon. So when I pull them out of the tray, they now are super dry, kind of like a rice cake, and they actually just snap apart, super dry and ready to go. So I'll be back as soon as I have this done. So we have it all powdered up, and what I'm going to do is take the powdered bouillon, and I've got 1 jar that I'm going to fill that is the same size as what I normally use in my kitchen daily, and then I'm going to put the rest in some other jars, and we'll see how much I have when we're done. Now this bouillon is going to be a little different than what you would buy in the store, because we haven't added any salt to this, and a lot of bouillon you buy in the store has a lot of sodium. So we have decided that we will add the salt to our recipes to our taste, and it might extend the shelf life a little bit if you added some salt to it. Totally personal preference. So let me get these jars filled and see what we end up with. So we ended up with 1.5 pints of our dry bouillon. So as I said, the 1/2 pint will go on to the shelf with the other different spices and herbs and things that I use normally in the kitchen. The full pint will get a regular lid and ring and get a dry seal done on it and be put away for future use. Now anything that I will put a link to that we used when processing the bouillon in the description. If any of you have some great ideas of other uses for vegetable scraps, please make sure you leave a comment below. And remember, if you know anybody you think might be interested in the content of our videos, please share it out to your social media, and make sure that you hit the bell and that you subscribe so that you'll get to see any future videos we have coming up. Until next time, everybody, take care.